Alright, looks like we're up and running. Oh, okay, welcome to another round of ACC. This is round 6 of the season. Last week was the first week we managed to get a live stream on our ACC league, which has been running for quite a while now. Got a nice full lobby again today, so we got, by the looks of it, let's see, 25 drivers at the moment. Looks like Capel just went quicker. We're in practice at the moment. As you can see, Morrow actually has the fastest lap, which is big improvement from last week. He is a gold driver. I think he had a poor qualifying last week and had to fight up through the field. He's 5,000th of a second ahead of Forza in practice. But if you have a look all the way down to P8, we've got less than half a second separating them. This is about a 1 minute 31 kind of circuit if you're looking for a pole position time. So a fairly short track. We're in Valencia this week. I think it's called the Ricardo Tormo circuit. It's the first time I'm going to be commentating on this, so it'll be pretty interesting to see what this track's like. I have no idea if it's good for overtaking. I can see there's like a long straight and then a lot of technical corners basically in between. So hopefully we'll get some good overtaking action on the main straight, but it kind of looks tricky and technical. We've seen a few drivers spin whilst I've been setting up my stream, so people either pushing to the limits or just struggling to get to grips with the track. So yeah, I'm really interested to see how qualifying will go, because like I said, the top 8 separated by just less than half a second, and then there's quite a big field spread after that. So these guys won't have set serious lap times since joining the lobby, but yeah, we could have a tight battle at the front. Last week we had Weatherston, who sat in P5 in practice. He was our race winner. He didn't set the fastest lap. He didn't get pole position. That was Forza, who finished second. That's Skinsey. He well, I thought he had a poor pit strategy compared to Weatherston, but it just turns out he made a mistake that we didn't catch on stream and lost a big chunk of time. So that is why he lost the lead, and then he caught up right at the end of the race in Brands, but just couldn't get the win. So Skinsey's good at finishing P2 so far this season. I don't think he's managed to get a win. Weatherston's managed to get a few wins, and I think Glover has as well got a win. I can't remember the rest off the top of my head, but yeah, Weatherston is the one to beat today, but he's only in P5 in practice. Let's see what... Well, he's just chilling in the garage now for the last minute as well. Some of these guys getting some last second laps in. Any rainbows in the pit lane? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see when the lobby resets what it ends up looking like. Also, in the silver last week, Ben took a very, very convincing win, but in practice he's only, well, he's not even a tenth ahead of his next nearest rival in practice, at least, Paul, who had a decent race as well, got some good points in the silver, but yeah, Oliver is looking much more likely to get that silver championship as it stands anyway. Let's find a red car and see... Where's the Ferraris? No, the Ferraris are red. There's a red one. We might see a rainbow again. Well, not from his car. No, I don't think we're getting a rainbow. Let's go out in drive mode and see if we could see the pit lane a bit better. No. That was just one off, I think. Alright, let's go back to the garage. I'm going to do qualifying in the garage because I've managed to move the minimap out of the way. And someone's already started there. Oh, here we go. We're back in qualifying. I thought it had already reset, but apparently not. So let's see who's going to exit the pit lane first. It looks like it's Scanlon, who is Bomber. Cutting the pit lane exit there. I don't know if that's against the rule or not, but if he has, he's been caught red-handed. It actually says that Oliver's come out ahead of Scanlon, but that's not the case. So we got Scanlon out first, and then Skinsey is right behind him, followed by Regnix, and yeah, a whole bunch of cars. You can see on the minimap there, queuing up behind each other. So the one at the back of this little group of cars is Peter. He's got plenty of space behind him. He's going to have to back off a little bit. Otherwise, he's like, yeah, these cars are all jostling for position. Looks like the McLaren there's trying to get an overtake done on the outlap, and it's not going to happen. He's gone wide into the corner now. So this is causing problems for Peter as well. Yeah, and he's just backed out of it. That number 20, that I don't know what number that was. The number 7, that was Andy Winters actually. Alright, Andy. Okay, let's join with Bomber, because he's at the front. Let's see what his lap time ends up being like. And it's taken us to Weatherston as soon as I do that. I thought it would stay with him. Right, there's 30 drivers. Oh, this is terrible. Oh, there we go. He started his lap. Bomber. So let's see how he tackles the opening lap. Let's see how good he is at hitting some of these apexes. Well, that's a really bad start. So Skinsy is the next up on track, right behind him. So he'll be catching up to Bomber probably. He gave Bomber plenty of room ahead, so despite Bomber's mistake there going completely off track, it looks like Skinsy's actually invalidated his lap. His time is showing as red at the moment. Oh, maybe that's just what it does. Oh, it'll be showing red because there's no time to compare it to, that's why. Because we're on the very first lap. So Skidsy's going to be the first person to set a proper lap time. He was our pole sitter last week as well. Seems to be taking these corners pretty well. You can definitely see he's catching up to Bomber. So it looks like Bomber's pushing on this lap despite his mistake. And now we've got 3 more corners to go. The very last person to cross the start-finish straight there to start his flying lap was Fracas, actually. Fracas missed last week, but he's back again. So this is the final corner for Skinsy. He's managed to hit all the apexes pretty nice. It looks like a fast lap. And he's going to set a 32.1. That's 1.6 seconds quicker than Scanlon. Regnix in P2. Let's go back to the garage and see some of these people approaching the finish line. So let's join Weatherston. He's just come around the final corner now. Looks like it's a 132.1 from Skinsy is the time to beat. And he goes in P2, less than a tenth behind Skinsy. So a pretty decent lap there. Let's go down to, where is it, number 22. Okay, Capel, let's go join Capel. Capel is at, well, in the middle of this gaggle of cars that were all jostling for position. And he's going to run down. Ahead of him, there's going to be a couple of drivers popping up on your screen as well. Looks like Cabras got a fairly poor lap. That was Cherner in P8. Morrow goes into P1 actually with a great lap, a 32 flat, so that's a little bit faster than Skinsy, just like we saw in practice. So he seems to be on a flyer at the moment. Let's stick with him for the next lap as he's about to come into some traffic which might affect his chances here. He's just took that corner so much better than the car ahead. The car ahead decides to just bail out of it. It may have cost Morrow a little bit of time. Let's see what the delta's looking like. He's actually not on screen. That is Skinsy. Scanlon is rounding the final corner anyway, so let's join him. He's down in P15 after a scruffy first lap, but he's 3.6 seconds up, and he's gone up into P6 now. Let's find Morrow, because I want to see how he ends his lap. So Morrow caught up to another driver already on this hot lap. So this isn't going this isn't going well at all, the hot lap of Morrow, but he is still in P1. No one's managed to beat his time just yet. Yeah, he's backing out. You can tell he's going really cautiously. I think he's just gonna try and get some space ahead of the following lap. So that is his lap ruined. He's half a second down on his best time. Let's see if anyone's up on their time. Fitcherer down in P24 has just launched up to P13. So he's a gold driver, so he'll be expecting to be in the top 10. Andy Winter's 2/10 up on his best time at the moment, so he's in P14 at the moment. Got about half the lap left to go. So he was in the top 10 in Brands Hatch, so I think he's expecting a little bit better out of this qualifying. 33.5 was his previous, and we saw the best lap overall was in the 31, so plenty of time for Andy to pick up. He's already over half a second better, so that must have been a pretty scruffy previous lap compared to what he's capable of, because this should be enough to get him into the top 10. There is a yellow flag out. Looks like someone's already reset to pits, but Andy Winters meanwhile has gone a second quicker as it stands on this lap. He just has to nail this one final corner. The run down to the checkered flag. There's another yellow flag out, so people in the wars here. Andy still says he's P14. What? What's happened there? Something's happened to Andy's lap, I don't know. Maybe there was a glitch and he wasn't actually going any quicker. But let's go back and jump on board with Steenstra, because all of a sudden we've got a huge difference. Morrow's dropped from P1 down to P5 because we were watching Andy Winters. Steenstra, who's Tapos CUV, he is in P1 with a 31.8 ahead of Peter, Forza and Weatherston, only in P4 and in the pits at the moment. So potentially he was the one who brought out the yellow flags and then reset to pits. So the top 5 separated by 0.017 of a second. We are... Oh, Morrow's just beat him. Morrow's just beat him and he's gone back into P1. Alright, who's the next person? I'm just trying to see on the minimap out of these guys who would be the next to approach. It would be Forza. So Forza is 3 corners away from the end of the lap. He's now down to half a second slower, so that was an insane lap by Morrow. Improving by 6/10 on his previous time to take provisional pole as it stands, 3/10 ahead of the previous best time from Steenstra. Forza having to go really wide and had to bail out of it, so that's a terrible lap for him. He's going to come into the pits and try to change his tyres and get one last little advantage heading into the final stretch. Peter is the next one. We haven't really given him much attention, but he's just quietly popped himself up into P3. So let's see if he can improve on his time. Meanwhile, oh, he's not. He's slowed right down. I don't know what he's doing. And he's decided to reset. I guess he didn't like the exit from the final corner. Let's see if anyone else. Let's give some love to some other people. Andy Winters, what's happening with him again? It looked like he just overtook a driver going incredibly slowly, and he's not going too quick either. He's just about to start a lap. Morrow looks like he's about to come back to the start-finish line again. So let's see if he can actually improve on that 31.5. Another car seems to be getting clear out the way. Well, yeah, right out the way for him, but he's not actually lifted. He's gone to a 31.292. That's another improvement for Morrow. He's absolutely on fire today. We haven't seen him trouble the top step of the podium yet, but this is insane pace at this circuit for him. Maybe he's just got the setup nailed for this qualifying session. We'll have to wait and see what he has to say after the race for where this pace has come from. Steenstra is the next one to try and respond. Half a second now, the gap. It seems like a really close gap in practice, but it's widened massively in this qualifying session. We've got 5 minutes to go, so still plenty of time for improvements. Steenstra doesn't improve. Let's see where Forza is in a lot of traffic again. So he's just on a really bad part of the track. He actually... yeah, he backed out of that completely. Let's see what Weatherston can do. Weatherston is the other one as Oliver just pops up into P6. That's pole for the silver tier at the moment. But yeah, Weatherston is one we expect to see at the top. Maybe P5 is quite low for him in qualifying. So he'll definitely be trying to improve on this lap, taking quite tight lines into these corners, which when you look at the track and you can see where all the rubber is laid, wider lines seem to be taken, well, according to what the track's telling us at least. Anyway, really wide exit on that corner. Will have lost Weatherston a 10th or 2. But it's a short run up to the following one. It looks like he's completely backed out, actually. So all these drivers, I'm trying to build some hype around, are just backing out of all of the laps. So this will be his hot lap with 4 minutes and 40 seconds to go. But Forza will be the one to actually set a fast lap. Hopefully he's looking to improve on being 7/10 down. He's used to getting on pole position. He's had quite a few in ACC, but he doesn't improve this time. Steenstra once again trying to improve on that P2. Let's see what he can do. Steenstra and Morrow both in the McLaren, so I'm wondering if this is like a McLaren track. If the top two are in the McLaren, Steenstra doesn't improve as well. And then there's the Ferrari, and then there's two Porsches. And then Regnick's down in P9 in the BMW. What's going on with him? Let's ride on board with Regnick's for this lap. Oh, well, let's not. He's not going quick. Weatherston's probably the next one again to cross the line, so we'll stick with him. Yeah, no one troubling this top 5 at the moment. Hound has just popped up into P6 though, so maybe he's gearing up. He was one of the quickest guys in practice as well, so he should have yeah, a pretty decent race as long as he can keep his nose out of trouble. Weatherston looking like he is tackling some of these corners a little bit better than the previous lap. Hasn't improved on this time that he's got for quite a while. He'll want to get into the mid or low 31s on this lap. And he doesn't improve. Oh, he does. He moves up to P2 now. So he's 4 tenths away. Let's see where Peter is. Skinsy's just about across the line as well. Let's see if he can respond. He can't respond. Steenstra is going to be the next one. So he's dropped down from a provisional pull down to a P3 now. And he's not trying. So that leaves Peter as the next one. Or will it be Morrow? No, Morrow's in the pits. Maybe he's satisfied with how his qualifying's gone. He would have time to come out and set one hot lap if he times it, and he leaves fairly soon though. So keep an eye on that little P marker next to his name and see if it disappears, because he might be feeling a little bit threatened now that Weatherston has popped up into P2. Or he might just be thinking, I'm not going to beat that time, I'm just going to chill. So Peter's had a good clear bit of track. He's not caught any traffic on this lap, but he goes incredibly wide into that final turn. So I highly doubt that this is going to be a quick time for him. No, it isn't. Weatherston again is going to be the next one to challenge. So I'm just going to stick with the guys who are challenging for pole here, because this seems to be the exciting end of it. Everyone else seems to be fairly spread out. I've not seen many changes up and down the grid. Key ones, well, Capel seems to be having a better qualifying up in P9. Regnick's is in 10th and Scanlon in 11th. I'm a bit surprised that those two are so low down. Weatherston didn't improve. Forza, again, not too far behind Weatherston. Oh, he does improve, but it's not enough to move up a position. And then it is Steenstra. Morrow is definitely not coming out. We've only got 1 minute left, so Steenstra is probably going to be able to finish this lap and get one more on the go. Every time we've joined him, he's kind of bailed out of his lap, so he must not have been confident in a lot of those. It kind of looks like he's gingerly approaching this one as well, so maybe he's just completely backing out of some of these laps because he makes a mistake earlier in the lap. There's a yellow flag out consistently here. I'm not entirely sure why. So yeah, he's crossing the line to start his final lap now. We've got only 40 seconds to go, and I think that means Peter might not get a last lap in. So let's join with him, because if he can get a last lap in, he's absolutely timed this perfectly, but it's going to be very close. I think he's just about going to do it, and he could potentially improve on this lap as well. No, he stays P4. Cherner is about to cross the line. He gets another lap in. He stayed P16. Now we've got Fracas crossing the line. He's 24th at the moment. He's going to be the last one to get a lap in. So the first person to cross the line is Weatherston, and this is going to be his final position. Is he going to be able to beat Morrow? He misses out by 18 1,000ths of a second. So that is unfortunate for Weatherston. Forster does end up jumping up into P4 there. So a good final lap for him. Then we've got Steenstra, we've got number 36 and number 87 crossing the line fairly shortly but we're going to stick with Steenstra as we've seen him back out of so many laps. Is this going to be the one where he really nails it? He needs to find more than half a second if he wants that pole position. I think he was the champion of the Silver Championship last season, and now he's qualifying in the top 3, so a really solid qualifying either way. He doesn't improve at all. Peter is going to be the next one, apart from Scanlon. Oh, Peter's crashed, so that's unfortunate. Number 42, let's see who number 42 is. That's Hound. Hound is our P6 driver, so he's popped up quietly into P6 ahead of all the silver runners and quite a few of the golds. He's got one last chance to get a top 5 finishing position here, and he doesn't improve at all, and that just leaves Cherner as the very last driver to come across line. Is he going to improve on P16? He does not. He improves his time to 1.5 seconds off the pole time, but he stays in P16. So I think that is a brand new pole sitter for ALR Morrow. I don't think he's ever had pole position before, and he ended up getting it despite sitting in the pits for the last part of qualifying, and just edged out Weatherston. So really good qualifying again for Weatherston. We saw him down in 5th place for quite a while, and he managed to get up into P2, just missing out on pole by less than 0.02 of a second. And then, yeah, Skinsey rescuing his qualifying, getting P4 in the end, so it's not too bad. He's got something to build on in the race. But yeah, Steenstra or Tapos is, should be pretty pleased with getting P3. And at one point he was leading qualifying. I wasn't expecting that for him. Right, so this is the time when everyone is adjusting the setups and adjusting the amount of fuel they have, making sure they are starting on new tyres and not the tyres they just did qualifying in as well, because that's a common mistake that can happen if you are fairly new to the game. Let's just have a look at some of these times a bit lower down. So we have Oliver once again pole for silver. He's in P7 ahead of Paul in 10th. And Tierney is the 3rd place driver, but he's down in 14th, so there's quite a gap, a field spread, because there's a bunch of gold drivers in between all them. And then we've got Cherner, Brian and Maura rounding out the top 6. But let's join on board. I don't know, who should we go out into drive, or should we ride on board for the start? I think riding on board will be better, just so that we can see any action. Maybe we could start on Hound's point of view, because he has a nice view of the 5 drivers in front of him. Let's see what the constructors are looking like. So we got McLaren, Porsche, Ferrari, McLaren. So half the top 6 are McLarens. Then we got 2 Ferraris. Then we finally see something new: a BMW, McLaren, Ferrari, Porsche, Ferrari, BMW. The highest Lamborghini is only 15th, so maybe that's not a very good car. Highest AMG is only 16th. But none of the top drivers have an Mercedes. We got McLaren, BMW, the first Aston Martin, even though he's a gold driver, down in 19th. Bloody hell. Horrible qualifying for Armada there. And then we have Vereen, Longworth and Fracas at the back. Yes, I'll use TV cam at some point. I think I'm going to start in this cam, because when you're in TV cam you can't flick through drivers if something ends up happening. So at least we'll be able to see everything. Oh, it might be a good idea to start with Andy Winters. He's always good for a bit of fun on the first lap. So this is going to be another hour-long race. Looks like it's going to be sunny throughout as well. I think it can rain on every track in ACC, but it doesn't look like it's going to here. There's no wind. The track temperature is really hot, 37 degrees, so hotter than last week, which means better management of tyres is needed, especially when you consider how many corners there are. You don't get many straights to kind of cool the tyres off. It's one after another after another. The air temperature is 28, so it's not the hottest that it could possibly be, but yeah, it's still, again, having another impact on the tyre wear, so it's going to be higher tyre wear, and we might see some problems later on in the race for people who haven't managed the tyres too well. So we're starting the formation lap now. A lot of pink cars on the grid, by the way. I don't know why that is. Very sparsely attended race today, not many people in the audience. What can ALR not attract the top crowds in Valencia? Look at that, there's like 5 people in that one stand. So what you're going to start seeing in a couple of corners time, everyone's going to start bunching together really tightly, side by side, in a line essentially, and try to survive what is always quite a hectic start. It's a run down to a swooping left-hander with a decent braking zone. We've got someone 802 in the garage, so yeah, that's auto. Maybe he didn't enter in time or something. That's an easy thing to do. So unfortunate for him, he was in 16th. That moves everyone else up a single spot. So just a couple more corners now until we get the race underway. There is still quite a big field spread. It's trying to tell me to drive, but I'm going to stick with these guys at the moment. So we saw Oliver and Winters really having a lot of battling in Brands Hatch, and they're starting side by side again. Oliver won that battle. That involved both of them going off track a little bit. Okay, here we go. They're all lining up. We're just approaching the final corner of the track now. They have to not hit each other as well. That's another challenge for them. Here we go. Now they still are on a limiter. Until we get the go ahead, everyone is still restricted with how fast they can go. And now we are underway. It looks like a fairly bad start for Andy. He's actually getting overtaken by Regnix there on the inside. He is going on the inside of Oliver now as well. So he's got 2 positions off the start. Really solid. And he's got the inside line for this corner. Looks like Andy Winters went incredibly wide to get that position. I don't know if that counts as going off track to get the position. But let's see what's happening a bit further up. Forza is battling with Steenstra. Yeah, that must be Steenstra. Is it? Where's Morrow? Morrow's actually dropped back. Okay, it's showing Morrow in P1, but he's actually in P2. He was just battling with Forza, who is in P3 at the moment. Now everything has... oh no, what is happening with the timing screens? Everyone's crossing it at the same time. Now we've finally getting some times. So, Weatherston started the race incredibly well. We've got Forza chasing down Morrow. He needs to get past him so that he can start chasing down Weatherston, who he had better race pace on last week, but ultimately missed out. So not a great start for Morrow. He's dropping back quite substantially from Weatherston, so he's just got it all wrong at the start of the race here, but he's still in P2, and he's still got a race to build off of. Behind Hound had a pretty good start, and Steenstra's dropped 2 places to 5th. Andy is up into P6 after that audacious overtake on Regnix. Very brave one to get P7. Oliver's actually been shuffled down to P9, potentially because of that overtake, and Capel is in 10th. A little bit further down, Pole in 11th. He's P2 for Silver, and then we have Tierney. But let's go back to the... Oh, really good overtake there from... who was that? Fitterer? Yeah, it was Fitterer. Well done, mate. Anyway, starting lap 2, we've got some good laps showing up, some good gaps appearing here. So Forster is the closest to a driver ahead. Morrow goes really wide on the exit of turn 1. We're entering turn 2 now. It is a much tighter one. So Forster could have potentially got alongside there if he had a better exit than Morrow, but he's still stuck around about 3/10 behind as it stands. See, is there any other really close gaps? Brian seems pretty close to Tierney here. Yeah, there are some gaps starting to form on the minimap as well. A little bit of a mistake for Fitterer ahead. And yeah, Brian trying different lines here, but they're not very optimal. A little bit further up, Pole's kind of on his own. Capel is at the back of this big battle. So we're going to join Andy, who seems to... Well, Hound seems to be right behind... the head of a very small queue of 3 cars. But he's doing pretty well to stay behind Forster. Forster dropping a little bit off the back of Morrow, so having potentially a little bit of a scruffy lap. Morrow actually gained 2/10 on Weatherston there as well. Steenstra might have a run on Hound here. This is the final corner, so a good exit is vital. You don't want to be... Oh! So is a good entry, and it looks like Andy Winter just absolutely dove up the inside of Steenstra and takes P5. Steenstra is going to have an opportunity to get that position back. That was another audacious move by Andy. Andy's doing this on purpose. He's given me some good material to work with here, and he's defended the inside pretty well. Steenstra loses it, and he gets hit by Regnix as well. He manages to be pointing the right way, but he's probably got some damage there, and that is a lot of positions he's lost. It hasn't updated on the field yet, but that looks like Peter's ahead, Oliver's ahead, Capel's going to be ahead. Yeah, that's bad for Steenstra. Let's see what's going on a little bit further ahead. Morrow is 1.3 behind Weatherston as it stands, and Hound is very close to Forster, so Forster having a bit of a scruffy time of it at the moment. They both gapped Andy after that overtake that he made. It did cost him a little bit of time in this battle, so he's lost a bit of time, but he does gain a position. It's one of the things you have to consider. Yeah, Weatherston's definitely getting caught at the moment. There's another 3/10 Morrow has gained on him. Gap is 1.3 seconds now. So maybe Morrow just had a scruffy opening and he's regained his composure a little bit. Now, why is Oliver showing as pink, by the way? I don't understand that. Why is his name showing as pink? Maybe because he's the lead driver. Or is it because he had the fastest lap? I think it might have been. Because Morrow's just set the fastest lap. Now he's 1.2 seconds behind Weatherston. There are some big gaps forming now. Let's have a quick look further down the grid. Yeah, fastest lap, mate. Cherner is very close. Well, he's saying he's very close to the back, but he's not at all. He's 1.9 seconds off. Some of these timings are pretty shoddy. They're not very good. And maybe I'll give Drive a go and see if I can tolerate it. So we've got Cherner here in P20. Fitterer in 11th, making some progress. Oliver's up in 8th, still at P1 for Silver class. And actually, there's a lot of cars really close together all of a sudden. Oliver putting a lot of pressure on Regnix. Regnix really benefiting from Andy. Was it? Well, actually, did he? Why is he down in P7? Something's happened to Regnix. I can't remember. A little bit further up, let's see what's going on. Andy Winter's up in P5, just ahead of Peter. You can see at the top there on the mirrors, Peter giving him a little bit of hassle there, wanting to get past. Peter was on course for a podium, of course, last week, but ended up in the wars towards the end of the race. These times are not particularly fast. I know we've put in full fuel, but we're a good 2 seconds off what we were doing in qualifying at the moment. There's Peter. And he gets a really good exit there, so Peter's not going to trouble him on the run down to turn 1. Capel up into P9 now. So he's had a fairly decent start, especially compared... Oh, Scanlon has made his pit stop. I don't know if that's tactical or if he had damage. I'm assuming it'll be damage related, but he's down in last place now, and he's got a very long race ahead of him to try and salvage a result that he's capable of, like top 10 for example. Forster dropped 2.6 behind Morrow now, and he's still only 4 tenths ahead of Hound. Weatherston seems to be fairly comfortable as it stands. Taylor, who I think is in organic, off the track there, and braking off track, that's interesting. So Otto swoops up into P19 as a result. Vereen is currently in P23, bit cut off from the rest. And oh, this looks interesting. Peter was challenging Winters not too long ago. Now Regnix looks like he wants to have a move on Peter. Both of them get braking incredibly wrong. Capel's gonna slide up the inside of Regnix, and Regnix actually backs out of it and lets Capel have the position. Pole dropping off a little bit of the back of that fight that we were watching. And Hound is still only 6 tenths behind Forster, so Hound putting in a really good opening stint here, keeping up with the top guys. He's around about 4.6 seconds off the lead at the moment. 31.9 Weatherston just did, 32.5 for Hound, so 6 tenths off the leading pace of the race. Right, let's go back in a drive mode so that I can, garage mode, so that I can see what some of these gaps look like. It's easier to join in the battles. Pete's still putting a bit of pressure on Andy Winters. Looks like Oliver's the one behind them now. How's O'Morder doing? He's down in P16. Oh, he's not doing good, guys. Okay, let's see. Cabras. Oh! So one of the ART drivers up in the top 2, and Cabras down in 21st. I think he's lost a couple of positions there as well. He's down behind Fracas, and now he's just ahead of Vereen, I think. Yeah, Vereen's caught up to the back of him after his mistake. A little bit further up, let's see, is Fitinio doing much? He's not too far behind O'Morder, so Fitinio doing pretty good here. He's one of the drivers I saw spin a few times in practice, so I was a bit worried for him, but he's started the race pretty well. We are nearly 10 minutes into the race at the moment. Fitcherer really close to the back of Pole, so Fitcherer should be quicker than Pole. Oh, and Pole gets that corner all wrong. This should open the door for Fitcherer. He's going to swoop down the inside under braking, I think, here. This is the final corner of the track. And yeah, a pretty solid job there for Fitcherer to get into the top 10. Something's happening up here. Peter's actually dropped down a little bit, so something's happened to Peter. Oliver's caught up to Andy Winters, who's right behind Peter as well. But let's join this little battle between Hound and Forster. Forster loses it and loses the position to Hound. So he was put under a lot of pressure from Hound at the start of the race, and it's paid off for Hound because that slight mistake, losing traction on the corner exit for Forster, has lost him his spot on the podium. And then it looks like Peter's actually dropped a position to Andy Winters at the exact same time as well. So Andy Winters having a very good opening to the race. He's made some good overtakes up into P5 now. And I wonder if he can start to chase down Skinsey, because Skinsey has been under a lot of pressure all race. Maybe he doesn't have the same pace that he did last week. Oh dear. Oh dear. That was bad, Oliver. That was bad. BO made a huge mistake there and potentially has cost some damage to Peter. I'm not sure. Let's stick on board with Peter, see if he peels into the pits at the end of this lap, because that could have been damage. He's still pretty close to Andy, so maybe got away with it. I guess BO just penalised himself. Yeah, Peter's staying out, so it can't be that bad. The gap to the lead is 1.6 seconds now, so David seems to be in control of the gap as it stands. Steenstra down to 11th after his poor start. Pole down to 12th. Everyone else seems to be fairly spaced out, so I think it is good to stick with this battle. Let's join Capel. Capel at the back of a four-way battle. There's Andy Winters at the top of it. Peter putting a lot of pressure on Andy Winters, so he wants that position back straight away. Morrow with the fastest lap now. And the gap's actually reduced to 1 second, so Weatherston's definitely made a mistake somewhere. No one seems to be making much of a move, but Peter is really close to Andy Winters. Andy Winters has the inside line for the next corner, but it's not a braking zone. He is the braking zone, and it looks like Peter's fairly ahead, but it's a bit of a hairpin situation that we got going on here. A little bit of contact on the exit, and Andy Winters keeps the position. I think that was pretty fair, to be honest. Weatherston increasing his gap at the top by 0.3. There's a bit of contact between Andy and Peter through that one as well. So Peter really in a rush to get this position back, and Andy's not giving him an inch. Also catching up a little bit to Hound now though. 0.9 is the gap. Capel still at the back of this battle. I think he might be just conserving his car a little bit and seeing what plays out in front. That is usually what the top guys like to do if they can't push and get the position easily. A little bit of glitching going on in the lobby. Peter very, very wide, and Capel's very wide. So this Regnick, sorry. So Capel's going to swoop down the inside and get an easy position on Regnick into this hairpin here. And Andy Winters wide is going to open the door for Peter, but Peter couldn't get his car alongside in time before they had to brake for the next corner. Andy Winters still holding onto the position, placing his car very well, but it looks like Peter's attacking the corner a lot more than Andy. Andy looks like he's got a much slower entry into the corners. And they're both in the exact same car as well, so it could be a setup thing potentially. Ooh, really wide entry there for Peter. Maybe he's going to try and get a bit of a switchback situation going, but he couldn't. Andy taking that corner pretty well. 1.4 is the gap to the lead as well, by the way. And I think that's about it for that battle. It looks like BO's actually caught up to this as well, so Andy really is backing the drivers up. There's going to be quite the train actually, because Steenstra's not too far back in 11th, so 5th to 11th all separated by only a small number of seconds, smaller than the gap between Skinsey and Winters as well. Then there's a bigger gap to Tierney at the back. And then Pole down to 14th now. His race is going from bad to worse. I'm assuming he has damage. That's the benefit of the doubt I'm giving him, because he's falling back a couple of positions every lap at the moment. But let's see what Winters can do. He needs to continue not putting a foot wrong and hitting these apexes. Otherwise, Peter's going to have a run on him, kind of like he could now if this straight was a bit longer. Something's happened a little bit up front as well with Morrow. Morrow has dropped all the way back into the clutches of Hound. Morrow was only 1.6-ish seconds away from Weatherston. Now he's 5.1 down. He's had a mistake somewhere, and it must have been quite a big one, because he's under a bit of pressure now. Unfortunate for him, because his good work time-wise has been undone, and now there is a three-way battle for P3. Skinsey having a really good corner entry there, closed in a lot on Hound. This is, oh, Skinsey, no. Oh dear. He's plenty ahead of Andy still, but yeah, that's not very helpful for him. Now Hound has the opportunity of just sticking in Morrow's slipstream for a little bit. Looks like Weatherston has just lapped a car as well. Oh well. Couldn't see who that was. Peter is still about 5/10 down on Andy Winters. BO still in the mix. Fitcherer is pretty close as well. So yeah, everyone's kind of just settled into a rhythm now at this stage. So let's go back into drive and actually have a different point of view to look at. Let's have a look at Pole. Let's give him some attention. So he looked pretty quick in practice, qualified second best of the Silver Runners. The Silver Runners are now running in 11th, 12th, 13th and 14th, so something's happened with Ben in the last lap or so to drop back down. He's been overtaken by Tierney and Brian in the Silver, so that's not great for Pole. I think he was second last week in class in Brands Hatch as well. And he looks like he's just stuck a little bit behind Brian. Hound still in P3, 1 second away from Morrow at the moment, so Morrow's starting to build a bit of a gap. Let's join Steenstra. Steenstra was very, very quick at qualifying, top 3. Well, actually, he dropped down to 4th in the end. No, he was 3rd, sorry. And he's just 2 tenths behind Fitterer, who goes incredibly deep into that corner. That's going to give it a free position to Steenstra up into P9 now. Next up is going to be Regnix, who's only 8 tenths ahead, and then Capel, who managed to get ahead of Regnix in that after that moment that he had with Peter and Andy just at the top of this little train. And Andy's about to lap Kane. That's what's about to happen. Someone's coming in the pits. Let's see who that is. Peter. Peter's coming to the pits to make his pit stop early. So we'll join him in a moment to see how that basically pans out for him. Polty only 15th. I expected him to do a little bit better. Fitz has dropped down to 17th, so only lost a place since we last joined him. Omoda's still struggling in 14th. Is overtaking Peter in the pit. This is probably going to be a pretty long pit stop. He's gambling on coming out in clear air. I think the person that I want to join is Scanlon. Let's join Bomber and see if actually his decision to pit incredibly early is going to get him ahead of a driver like Peter, who wasn't actually too far off of the lead. And yeah, Peter did come out in front. He's actually in quite a bit of traffic by the looks of it, so he's come out just behind. Oh, he's just coming out now, sorry. That was a really slow exit from the pit lane, but he's ahead of Cabras, who is miles behind him. Actually, no, he's not. He's behind. I don't know what's going on here. He's just all on his own. P27. He's the last driver on track that hasn't been lapped, essentially. Where's Scanlon? Scanlon is ahead of him. It just hasn't updated on this bloody timing screen. So yeah, Scanlon is the lead driver of the ones that have pit, because he is 2 corners ahead of Peter on track. Unless he says he's 2 laps down, actually. So maybe he's had even more problems than we expected. If that's the case, then his race is completely over. He's not finishing in the top 20. Oliver's come into the pits now as well. So he stayed out 1 lap longer. He's just coming into the pits to make his stop now. If you want to see what a pit stop looks like in ACC, we can. It's not fancy at all. He's actually parked at the very end of the pit lane. You're not going to see any mechanics. You're not even going to see the car move at all. But what's happening right now is he's putting on new tyres and he's refueling. This is the extent of the visual effects that you get in a pit lane. And obviously he's waiting. Maybe there's some damage that he's fixing. Probably not, though. It seemed pretty clean for him. But let's have a look at what Morrow's doing. Morrow's still 6 seconds behind. Hound has dropped off the back of him by about a second, and Forster's kind of just on his own now as well, as is Andy. He's managed to, well, actually he's only just half a second ahead of Regnix, so we'll stick with this little battle. As you can see, Oliver coming out of the pits. You can see if he drops off, I'd assume he's going to drop well outside the top 20 for pitting that early, and he'll be praying that he comes out in some clear air as well. No, I don't think the tyres are worn out from aggressive driving at this stage. These tyres are meant to last a very, very long time. You can risk overheating them or losing all the heat if you have a big incident, though, which is very difficult, because what matters mostly in ACC is having the tyres in peak temperature, and then maybe only after like an hour you start seeing a serious problem with tyre performance due to degradation. So yeah, 20 minutes is you could drive insane and you'd still have good tyre life, but the temperature would be short. That's the problem. So sometimes you could opt to make an early pit stop if you've had a lot of offs, if you've been in the gravel and you're just losing too much time because it's too difficult to get the tyres up to temperature again. Alternatively, you could just pit early to get your pit stop out of the way, because it doesn't mean too much. The only advantage that you can get really is starting with less fuel and then putting more fuel in your pit stop. But the advantage isn't that great. I don't think. Other people might disagree. Steenstra is also in the pits now, so we saw him down in, well, P9 after his poor start. He's come in and will start dropping down. Let's have a look and see. Steenstra is just coming out of the pits now. Peter is our net race leader, and I expect him to keep that because he's got some nice clear air. He's got 4 seconds to Maurer in front of him. Steenstra just coming out of the pits now, though. Yeah, that is behind Peter, despite what you could see there. Yep, there you go. He's just dropped below now. So, yeah, Peter is still the net race leader. He's trying to get an undercut on this top 5 that he was battling with. He wasn't too far... Well, he wants to be ahead of Andy at the very minimum. Andy is 6.6 seconds off the back of Forcer now. And Peter is closing in on Maurer incredibly quickly. Maurer is OG Moose King, by the way. Which I didn't know last week. So I like learning new things. But yeah, let's see what Weatherston's up to, because he just dropped 0.8 of a second on Morrow. So potentially his tyres are starting to struggle a little bit. We are a good 23 minutes into the race now. So this is prime time to start thinking about pitting. You basically want to pit around halfway through the race. Extend if you are in the front or if you have clear air. Pit early if you're in traffic, all that kind of usual stuff. But yeah, I've been told the pit sequence isn't that dramatic in ACC. I guess part of that reason is because... Oh, Andy Winters is behind Regnix. I wonder what happened there as well. So Regnix recovering pretty well at the moment. Weatherston is starting to get Morrow again. It looks like Forster's coming into the pits. Andy Winters coming into the pits as well. You have to brake manually as you enter the pit lane and then put on the pit limiter, which is 50. And otherwise you get a stop-go drive-through penalty, which is just the most brutal kind of penalty. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens with Forcer in this pit sequence. His direct rival is going to be Peter, who's the highest plates driver who has made a pit stop. The mandatory one pit stop that you have to make in one of these races. It's very rare you'd have to make an additional stop. Well, I think it's pretty impossible actually in these rules, so it's pretty much just a one stop. You have to make it. What you decide to do in that pit stop's up to you. You could technically not even change your tyres or fuel, I think. I think that's the rule. But it is in your interest to put in fuel. So Peter's coming through now. Forcer looks like he is coming out of the pits and he's going to be comfortably ahead of Peter. He's actually going to get bumped off track there. That was bad. Who was that? That wasn't Andy Winters. That was... Oh, God. Even this way, it's not easy to keep track of people. I think it might have been Taylor, you know. Or Cabras. I don't know. 91. Oh, it was Scanlon. Oh, friendly fire. Friendly fire. So it's the guy who's 2 laps down, causing problems for Forcer. But the good news for Forcer is he is a good 3 seconds ahead of Peter. He's got loads of clear air now. So apart from that little bump, which hopefully didn't cause him any damage, he's got a good chance of leapfrogging Hound at the very least. Morrow is still chasing down Weatherston, but these top 3 still haven't pit yet, and it doesn't look like they're in a rush to. Rejnik's up to 4th, Capel up to 5th. Fitterer is the one who's come in on this lap. So he was battling around about the Andy Winters Peter fight. Andy's actually a long way back from Peter. So let's join with Peter and see if he comes out ahead of Fitterer in this pit sequence. Oh, what happened there? What is that? What's going on? I don't know. Anyway. So yeah, Fitterer looks like he's still in the pits, and yeah, Peter's got the position. What about Andy Winters? Peter is coming out of the pits now. It might be a little bit tight. You're going to see Peter on the right. that was Fitterer only coming out of the pits now here, so he's actually just been overtaken by that, I think that was a McLaren number 26 of Oliver. So Fitterer's dropped pretty low down. If there's Oliver, Fitterer hasn't done too well out of that pit sequence. Regnick's in the pits now as well. He was the other one that was fighting Peter as well, I think. Peter only 2.8 behind Forza. This is going very well for Peter. There is a bomber in the way though. Let's go back into drive mode for a bit, because everyone's starting to spread out a little bit. We can see some good camera angles and have a little bit of a change of pace. Tierney carrying on once again. Fracas down in P15 still hasn't made his stop yet. O'Morda up into P7 now. He always likes to go long, I've noticed, O'Morda. That tends to be his strategy. Just stay out and maybe stay out of trouble. Fitzinho just slightly ahead of Tierney as they go into this corner. These are some shocking camera angles, actually. Drive-through penalty for car 15. Let's see who that is. Oh, Vereen. Unfortunate. Right, I've already given up on that. Drive mode is horrible, and this mode, oh look, we've actually got TV mode. Maybe if I change it, it'll change again though. So that's Fracas. Oh, nice, we got TV mode. I don't know how we did that, but let's stick with that then. So Weatherston, Morrow, Hound, all still out. Capel's still out. Looks like he's coming into the pits right now. Just behind a lapped car, that looks like. Yeah, that's Vereen serving this drive-through penalty. Brian's still out, so he's the highest placed silver driver at the moment. So he's doing pretty well here. Is he going to come in? He's going to carry on for another lap. O'Morda really close to the back of Polty. Neither of them have pit, and they're going to continue once again. So might want to stick with O'Morda for now. I don't know how I did the camera angle thing, guys, but there we are. We can actually see TV screen, TV mode, and see the gaps on the left. Fitz in the pits. Vereen successfully cleared the drive-through penalty, so didn't get another drive-through by serving that drive-through, which I think every single ACC driver has done at least once in their lives, learning this very complex game. Morrow closing in on Weatherston quite well at the moment. The gap's down below 5 seconds for the first time in quite a few laps. O'Morda ahead of Polty now. So things going fairly well for O'Morda. And we've got Ben Oliver stuck behind Regnix. This is the battle for P14, so that's what the pick sequence has done at the moment. These two are really in the top 10, or they were. And yeah, Oliver just stuck behind Regnix at the moment, and Regnix going backwards a little bit in the race. He's lost spots to Capel and Andy Winters. Peter is miles ahead, actually fairly close to Forza, so Forza's got a bit of trouble. I think we're finally seeing some of the top guys in the pits though, so it's time to jump on board with Forza, who's just rounding the final corner. He was behind Morrow and he was behind Hound in the end before the pit stop strategy, so Morrow looks like he's coming out of the pits now. It looks like Hound might be just behind him there. So Morrow is going into turn 1 before Skinsy's managed to get there. Hound and Skinsy are a lot closer. Hound is just ahead there. Skinsy's going to try and move up the inside into this corner. And he does it. And it looks like Skinsy's got the spot. So really good overtake there for Skinsy to actually get that position on Hound, and he's finally back on the podium, net podium I should say, which you'll see when all the timing screens update and Brian and Polty actually get knocked off there. Yep, Forza, see, up there. He's now 5 seconds behind Morrow. Morrow's going to try an undercut on Weatherston. Weatherston is in the pits now. You can see he's very busy changing his tyres right there. His tyres are definitely coming off, and he's definitely getting some fuel put in. So it takes a very long time, as you can see, for the tyres to be removed and put back on. So Morrow probably doesn't have enough as he's coming out around this swooping left-hander before it gets incredibly tight and reaches quite an acute apex there. But Weatherston is coming out of the pits as he rounds the final corner, and the gap was just under 5 seconds before the pit sequence. So this will be really interesting to see if Weatherston has extended the lead. It looks fairly similar as he enters into turn 1, just ahead of a lapped car as well. And we'll have to wait a few moments to see what Morrow can do. Morrow has a bit of clear air as well. Forza has managed to get past the lapped car. Hound is just 9/10 behind. Yeah, Taylor's in the pits, that's why he's disappeared. Capel in all sorts of trouble here. There's Andy Winters at the head of a very tight train now. Something's happened with Andy Winters, and Capel is all over the back of him. We know Capel loves a dive bomb, so I'm expecting to see a move. Oliver putting a bit of pressure on Regnix there as well, as Fitterer is just behind too. Oh, Maude now the leader, by the way. He's only got a 10-second lead, though. And Taylor, yeah, there he goes. He drops down because he's pitted, same as Tierney. So fairly decent opening stint for those guys, but they're going to drop out contention for the top 10 now, as we see Andy Winters still just ahead of Capel. Capel going, trying to go around the outside and then gets the cut back, but it's not really one of those corners where you can do that. They're all going to have to tuck up into the apex. It looks like they've all taken it pretty well. BO took the a little bit too much of the corner there, but it's still as you were in this battle. Stop-go penalty for Taylor, unfortunately for him. Ow, someone span! Who is it? Well, they're off track, so we can't see. It looks like Regnix was involved in that. We have to wait and see. He's still trying to get on track by the looks of things. Yeah, Regnix, Capel was involved in that. Fitcherer's moved up into 9th. Oliver's moved up into 8th. He's actually battling Fitcherer right now. Just avoid a little coming together there. Andy Winters still in 7th. I've got absolutely no idea if there was contact there, but they were all incredibly close together. And yeah, Capel's definitely got damage on his car. Can't see any on the back of Regnix, but I'm wondering if there's any on the front. We'll soon see it. Yeah, he's got damage on the front. Capel's got damage on the back. So I think you can see what happened there. Regnix went into the back of Capel at some point. And now, yeah, they're both going to be struggling for the rest of the race with that light damage. Does cost you time. I'm assuming it's light damage as well, but it looks like Oliver's currently fending off Fitcherer, so we're going to stick with this little battle now. Oliver found his way back into the top 8 again. He's actually 7th because of the car that came into the pits. That is O'Morda, who's dropping down now. But he is a mile ahead of all of the other silver drivers, so once again showing incredibly dominant form in the silver division. Fitcherer really trying to get a move done here, trying all of the tight angles around these left-handers. And there we go. There's Andy just 1.9 seconds ahead of Oliver, who's still half a second ahead of Fitcherer. But I want to join this little battle, because all of a sudden Hound has started to catch up a little bit again on Forza. Hound has fresher tyres, so that might be potentially aiding him. Peter's just a little bit behind as well. So Forza having another slow section of the lap. He's gone incredibly wide, as has Hound out of turn 1. I've seen that happen quite a few times. I'm sure they'll be getting warnings. I think you can get 3 warnings, then you've got to serve a drive-through penalty in the game. Only if you gain time, though. So if you go wide and you lift and you lose time on your previous fastest lap, you don't get any threats of penalties. So it's a very delicate game that you've got to play. It's a clever system, actually. It's quite accurate. Much better than just getting a 1 second penalty for cutting the corner. That's the only compliment ACC will get out of me tonight compared to GT. Anyway, the gap between these guys are incredibly close, but I also wanted to point out the gap between 1 and 2 is only 2.2 seconds at the moment. Who's gone off? Who's gone off? It's not Hound, it's not Forza, it's not Peter. Is it Andy Winters? No, it wasn't. It might have been a lapped car. Oh, I don't want to report someone. Hold on. There we go. It wasn't one of the top guys anyway. Andy Winters still about 2 seconds ahead of Ben, who's still just ahead of Fitterer. So Fitterer's strategy here is a bit compromised because I think he's got so much more pace than Oliver, but he's just not managed to find a spot on the track to get an overtake done. Like I said, it's a short track. It's a 1 minute 31 lap, and yeah, even this back straight doesn't go on for long enough to truly take advantage of slipstream. As you can see there, he just hardly closed the gap to Oliver, and yeah, he's got to try and get it done on the infield section, which is a lot more difficult to do. But yeah, battle for the P3, let's see. Forza is proving fairly difficult to overtake here. This is the complete opposite to the race he had last week. Last week he was the fastest guy on the track, but definitely doesn't look like that now. Fastest guy on the track is definitely Morrow, who not only has the fastest lap, but he's 9.6 ahead of Skidsy, and he's only 1.4 behind Weatherston now. So really on a charge in this stage of the race. We've got 21 minutes to go, so we're only 2/3 of the way through the race. As we round the final corner, it looks like Hound might have a little run on Skinsey though. He definitely does. The gap is just less than 0.3 of a second. Is he going to be able to get close enough into turn 1? He doesn't think about having a last minute dive. Skinsey going wide again. Maybe that's just allowed in the game. I don't know. Someone let me know if that's just oh, there's a move, and it looks like Hound managed to get past Skinsey there with a great bit of opportunism under braking. Hound is now the lead driver of this group, and he's got his P3 back. He's had to overtake Skinsey twice in the race, and now Peter. Skinsey will be fuming with that, but Peter is now going to be the next one to try and put a little bit of pressure on Skinsey. I'm just going to see something dead quick. There. Now, if I go back to the garage, it stays in that view, guys. We're learning things. We just have to go to track, switch the view, and then we can go back in this one, so that everything can be easily organized. So we're riding on board now with Peter, as he is putting a bit of pressure on Forza. Forza going very defensive into the final turn. Peter going, well, completely out braking himself, getting that corner incredibly wrong, and that is a relief for Forza. There was a yellow flag out, so I'm guessing some of the people a little bit further down are being the wars. So we're starting to see some gaps open up. Oliver just ahead of Fitterer still. But apart from that, well, Steenstra's catching up to Regnix. Regnix is miles behind Capel, so potentially his damage is worse from the incident, which I think was between those two. Pulte really has stuck with Omorder for this entire race. So Pulte putting in a good shift because Omorder's a quick guy. Struggling a little bit in this race though. I'm going to blame it on the Aston Martin. I don't know if it's him or the Aston Martin, but let's just blame the Aston Martin. He's the only one in that car, and he can do much better than P13. Tierney is stuck behind Cherner. That's Otto Ration. Good little battle between these two. Quite evenly matched it looks. And then let's see what's going on a little bit further down. Let's give some of these guys some love. We've got Vareen currently in last place. Which we saw last week as well, unfortunately. Kane actually quit and joined the chat last week. This week's doesn't seem to be going too much better, but he's still racing. Fracas in 24th. He's quite a way off the back of everyone. Then we got Taylor, who stayed out really late before coming into the pits, in 23rd in that Ford. The only Ford driver on the track. Love a good Mustang. Got a drive-through for Capel. So that will be for corner cutting. Capel has always struggled with corner cutting in ACC, and it seems to be the first casualty of corner cutting in the game. There's no other reason that he could have got a penalty, because he's just all on his own out on track, and that is going to be a really poor result for him. Is he going to come in the pits now? No, he's staying out. I think you get 3 laps to serve it, so he can stay out another lap or 2. Obviously, you can't go into the pits and fix any of the damage that you've got. Oliver has been overtaken by Fitterer now, so Fitterer doing pretty well to get that position. He's now 2.8 behind Andy Winters, and I have a feeling we'll keep an eye on his splits, because I think that gap to Andy is going to come down fairly quickly now. Let's see what's going on at the front, because these two, we've got a fight on our hands for P1. Morrow, after his big mistake, has caught up to Weatherston the entirety of the 6 seconds, and he's right behind Weatherston with 17 minutes to go, and definitely has much better pace. Our pole sitter, with the really good opportunity to win this race, got caught with his pants down at the start of the race, fell back to P2, was only about 1.7 seconds behind, but had a big mistake and dropped to 6 seconds behind, and has caught it all up now. He's got a great chance of winning, and this is going to be game on for Weatherston. Will he be able to avoid making any mistakes on this tight infield section for the next 17 minutes? We saw Morrow was quicker every single lap. The gap was decreasing, but something must have happened to catch up right to the back of him this quickly. I wasn't expecting it. Drive through for car 10, track limits, 1 lap remaining. It just popped up. That is Capel, so it was for track limits after all. Morrow getting very close in the entry to the corner there. As a result, I think he had to brake a little bit too much. It allows Weatherston to just increase the gap a little bit on corner exit, because he can take the corner how he likes. Morrow has to factor in the car in front of him and, of course, the dirty air. And that is why sometimes a car that is quite clearly faster on the day struggles to make progress when it catches up to the back of one. Now he's dropped to about 7 tenths behind heading into the final corner, so another bit of breathing space for Weatherston as Morrow loses a bit of traction on the exit, which allows Weatherston to increase his gap a little bit more. We might be up to a second now, 8 tenths of a second. So a bit messy after, as soon as we went on board with him, he's lost a good chunk of time in that battle. And wide again in that corner. So, yeah. What about Oliver? Oliver's still stuck to the back of Fitterer. They're both catching Andy Winters. But, yeah, since Oliver's got caught, he hasn't actually been dropped by Fitterer or by Capel. Oh, really wide there. That's going to get in Capel's way, who wants to go into the pits, and Oliver doesn't. So there's the drive-through being served for Capel. Let's just stick with him and see. Oh, very slow. Actually came to a complete stop before going into the pit lane. Needs to work on his pit game, basically. So we've got number 2 going past. We've got, that's Brian, he's already a lap down, so he's just unlapping himself. 486 Pole is about to overtake him now as well. 64 is a lapped car. 92 and 15, so O'Morder's going to get past him as well by the looks of things. Let's join with O'Morder, who's just coming down the pit lane now. Capel's going to come out just ahead of him, it looks like. O'Morder's going to have the entry speed and exit speed out of turn 1 to close the gap up nicely to Capel. So Capel all the way down into 12th after his drive-through. So he's lost 3 positions through that drive-through penalty. So yeah, the gaps are quite large here The gap at the front certainly isn't. Morrow has closed the gap by a tenth since we last joined this battle, so he's, yeah, Weatherston's just not putting a foot wrong, basically. And he's managing to maintain this gap. It's still under a second, but he's maintaining it pretty well. There will probably be an opportunity for Morrow if he could just keep on the pressure. There is a lapped car in front that Weatherston's going to have to contend with. They'll both, excuse me, losing my voice. They'll both be hoping that these cars, there's another one a little bit further up, get out of the way pretty quickly. The gap just staying solid at around about 0.8 of a second at the moment. Forza dropping off the back of Hound as well, and Peter's actually dropped off the back of Forza. So that challenge that we thought Peter would give doesn't seem to have materialized. Yeah, this car needs to get out the way now. Number 87, that's O'Leary. Maybe he thinks he's fast enough to keep it for a few more corners. I'm not sure what the blue flag rules are. Is it, do you have a certain number of corners after the first blue flag to get out the way? Well, O'Leary got out the way just fine. I think Weatherston might disagree, because the gap is now only 0.5 of a second between Weatherston and Morrow. Oh, you see flames coming out the back of the car as it brakes, that McLaren. Love to see it. They're not very realistic flames, but it's still cool. Fitcher has caught up to the back of Andy Winters very quickly. So let's see, just for a couple of corners. Well, actually, where is Andy? Yeah, that is Andy, isn't it? Yeah. There's actually a bigger gap than what it's telling me. So we'll go back to the battle for P1, because Morrow is now 0.3 behind. It's really hot, heated up. Yeah, that's the right word. God, it's been a long day, guys. Yeah, but this is exciting. We've got just 12 minutes to go, so that is probably 5 more laps, I'd say, of racing, and Morrow basically is in the perfect position here. He just has to keep his composure, stay pretty close behind Weatherston for any opportunity of a poor exit from Weatherston, and he could pounce. We've seen it happen a few times in the race where drivers just get the entry to a corner wrong, and they only lose a few tenths, but they also lose that position because these corners are so long, essentially. If you get the entry wrong, it takes quite a while to get your car back onto the racing line. Interesting, though, that Weatherston hasn't been, he's been the second quickest person on track for both races that I've commentated, but he won the first race regardless of that, and he's winning the second race regardless of the pressure that he's under. So I think it just goes to show, especially in ACC, the consistency is more important than having the outright speed. Morrow obviously made a mistake at the start, he made a mistake in the middle of the race. He could be 6 or 7 seconds clear up the road of Weatherston right now without those, but regardless of that, he's still on for his best ever ALR finish, P2. I think last week was his best ever before that as well. So yeah, he's definitely a driver on the up. I don't know what changed. Maybe this is the circuit that he's had a lot of practice on in ACC. Maybe the rest of the league just aren't very good on this circuit. I don't know how popular it is on ACC, but it's definitely the first time that we've raced here. I'm pretty sure it's one of those tracks that is DLC as well, so you have to actually pay for it. Both of them getting the entry, a wide entry, and then hugging the inside of the apex on the exit to get a good run angle-wise into the next corner. You can see Morrow taking that line much better, but it looks like Weatherston got a better exit, and he's putting more distance between them. Oh, really wide, well, snap of oversteer there for Weatherston, and that is going to give Morrow a great opportunity. Weatherston's actually going defensive into the final corner. This is going to give Morrow a chance of getting into a slipstream in the run down. I think Morrow was trying a switchback but couldn't get his car turned in, so the gap is just going to be 0.3 of a second on the run down to turn 1. It needs to be a lot closer than that if Morrow's going to have a run into turn 1. It takes a little bit too much curb, Morrow, and both of them again wide on the exit. I'm assuming the green is fine to go on, to put all 4 wheels on for that corner. hear the brakes squealing on the cars in ACC as well. That's a neat little difference. I don't know if that's like more realistic that the brakes make that kind of noise on every single car. I don't know. I guess it is because this is the official. Oh, he's braked really late. That's a disaster. Both of them are on the gravel. Oh dear. Well, like I said, damage is permanent in ACC, and I'm assuming they'll have both had some damage there. That was completely on Morrow, braked way too late into the corner, collected Weatherston, and then they both took a trip into the gravel because he kept pushing Weatherston out there as his car flew there as well. They've lost a big chunk of time to the car behind, but it's going to pop on screen fairly shortly. It is going to still be quite a substantial gap, 11 seconds. So regardless of that, they've got 8 minutes, and they might lose a little bit of that 11 seconds, but it's kind of just as you were. Not really one if it got reported that it would be penalised, I don't think. I mean, yeah, Morrow made the mistake, but there was no real advantage if there was no damage to Weatherston. There might have been damage to Weatherston, which might explain what's about to happen next if Morrow gets an easy overtake. It doesn't look like there's damage on Weatherston's car, though, so I think he might have got away with it. This is around about where that incident happened, and it looks like Weatherston's going incredibly defensive. He doesn't want to be risking the car just ploughing into the back of him like what happened previously. Also, that might just be a little bit of nerves for Morrow. He's not been in this position in ALR. He's sniffing his first win. This may be his best opportunity all season. He's going to try and move around the outside. He's going to try the switchback. He can't do it. He just can't do it. And he loses a bit of traction there, so Weatherston's going to get away from him slightly. They are actually lapping quicker than Hound still, so I don't think that incident actually did anything. Just a nice little bit of drama out of nowhere, though. Now Morrow is the one trying a tight entry, maybe trying to put Weatherston off a little bit on the entry to the corner. Manages to stick pretty close to Weatherston as well. Doesn't seem like the slipstream is all that strong in ACC, it's got to be said. You don't see the gap reducing too much on the straight, which hampers the overtaking possibilities as well. Morrow potentially just settling into a bit of a rhythm here. Let's have a quick look at Fitterer, still stuck behind Anti-Winters, but he is looking like he is sniffing out a move in that Lamborghini. Oh, got a much better exit from the final corner. He's going to have a run down Anti-Winters, down into turn 1. Andy's already going as defensive as possible. He's on the marbles. And Fitterer's going to try and move around the outside. He's just not going to be able to pull alongside well enough here into the run to turn 1, but he's going to try and pinch Andy to the inside of the corner, but it doesn't work. Andy keeps the position. Meanwhile, at the front, it's still very, very close between Weatherston and Morrow. Let's change the view a little bit. So they are still incredibly close together, these two. But Weatherston, like I said, hasn't been making any mistakes. Morrow has been... Excuse me. Morrow has been the one that has been making a couple of mistakes this race, but his pace has been absolutely phenomenal. He's going to shoot up the leaderboard as well, because basically what happens in this league is your worst performance gets dropped. So your worst of 8. So if you miss a round, it's just that one that gets dropped. Or if you finish down in 21st, but you finish the rest of the season in the top 10, it's the 21st one that gets dropped. And Morrow has a lot of contenders for rounds to get dropped, and it definitely won't be this one. He'll shoot up the leaderboard, while some other drivers may have new drop rounds. He's got a lot of damage on that left side of his car, so he's definitely been in the wars in the race. Weatherston, that is. I think that must be damage from Morrow going into the side of him. Looking at Morrow, let's see if we can see any damage on his car. His car looks absolutely perfect, it's got to be said. So no damage on his car at all. That potentially explains why he's stayed so close to the back of Weatherston for the race. I don't know if he's gonna challenge for the win or if he's maybe feeling a little bit guilty for that contact earlier, but I'm hoping that he tries something in these next 3 minutes and 40 seconds before the the checkered flag comes out. I just want to have a quick look at the lower down. So Scanlon, it did say he was 2 laps down. I think that was incorrect. 1 lap down. Well, now it says he's 2 laps. I think he's 1 lap down, guys. He's down in 19th, so he's second last of the gold drivers. Cabras is currently last of the golds. And then everyone else in gold is in the top 13. So a big difference in points for the gold drivers. We're going to stick for these last 3 minutes on this little battle for the lead. They're coming up to another lapped car. That is, I think it's Cherner. They're about to overtake and lap. So they've lapped everyone up to P16 at the moment. So Weatherston really needs to nail this lapping sequence because Morrow looks to be a lot closer once again. Morrow seeming to have the advantage in the infield section, and he's got the fastest lap as well. Capel is recovering, well, he's trying to recover. Oh, there's been another incident! Oh my goodness, what is going on? What is going on, guys? They're just off track, we can't see it because of the camera angle. Weatherston once again is just ahead of Morrow, and where's Hound? Hound is still miles behind. So there's been another coming together. We'll have to rewind that one and see what happened. That is the second time that these guys have been in an incident in the last couple of laps. And Morrow has a lot of damage on the side of his car now. Weatherston is pretty much running away with it. So it is pretty much as you were. I don't know if Morrow outbraked himself again because he was a little bit too far behind to have a challenge on Weatherston when we were paying some good attention to that. But yeah, they've both lost about 6 seconds to Hound there, so that is yeah, pretty dramatic, guys. Force dropped off the back of Hound. I think that might be it, done and dusted, but we've got 1 minute 12 left, so we might, this might be actually the penultimate lap, so we're gonna get 39 laps out of this one. We'll have to see how everyone does when they're crossing the finish line. Morrow is still 1.2 seconds behind as it stands. Damn, a lot more drama at the front in this race compared to last week, that's got to be said. A little bit wide there on entry for Weatherston, and that's going to allow Morrow to close the gap massively, so he might still have another chance at the end of this race to get an overtake done. This is where they had their incident previously. I don't know if the lapped car had something to do with it. They still haven't lapped at Otto, by the way. Otto just drove away though instead of letting them pass, so I have a feeling that he wasn't involved in it. Oliver's dropped back, so he's had some sort of mistake, but we'll go back to the front because they're just rounding the final corner. They've got 11 seconds left before the timer stops and the checkered flag starts coming out. They're going to cross the line before it happens. So this is the final lap. They are challenging each other for the lead in the run down to turn 1. Morrow as the inside line, and it looks like he's actually getting the move done. And David's going to try a move up the inside of the next corner as they're lapping a car at the same time as well. And he's got the inside line. David is going to get that position by the looks of things on the exit. He's got that position back after losing it for just one single corner. He's been in the wars. His car looks like it's absolutely shot to pieces. Every single corner of that car is scuffed. So I think that's all just from one driver as well. And it's that driver that he's just managed to get back ahead of again. But it's still not over. So let's go into drive mode. Sorry guys, there we go. As we've got just a couple of laps to go, a couple of corners to go on this final lap. We've got Morrow just 3/10 behind at the moment. This is the part of the track where they made some contact previously, this corner coming up. He's got 3 corners left, Morrow, to get the overtake done. And he's still a good chunk behind Weatherston. Weatherston really has to avoid going on the gravel on the exit here, which a lot of people have done. He goes over the curbs. It is a little bit of a slower exit. Morrow is getting a little bit closer. We're heading into the final corner now. And it looks like a fairly decent exit for David. There is a drive-through for car 64, but David Weatherston is going to win once again in Valencia. Morrow gets P2. Hound is coming over the finish line now to take a really good podium for him. Forza off the podium this time around. He's going to finish P4. There we go. And then we got Peter a little bit further behind in P5. He tailed off a little bit from Forster in the end there. Then we got a big gap. Andy Winters just ahead of Regnick, Steenstra, Oliver and Fitcherer. So Fitcherer and Oliver have had some sort of issue as we see the flares going off in the very sparse crowd there. I don't know who's letting off those flares because there's no crowd members there. But yeah, Winters coming around the final corner. He's going to take P6, and then just behind him is Regnick, and just behind him is Steenstra. So let's ride on board as these 3 drivers cross the finish line now. Then we got Ben Oliver slightly behind in P9. Fitcherer a good chunk behind now. He's going to finish in 10th. Then we got a bit of a gap to Capel, who we saw was in the wars with Regnick, but Regnick could recover, and Capel doesn't look like he was able to. Coming into the final corner now with the lapped cars. Everyone from P16 down has been lapped. So, yeah, solid result in the Ferrari despite all of his troubles, I would say. Meanwhile, Omorda's recovered to P12 in the end. Pole is going to get P2 for Silver Class in 13th place. Polti is complete the podium in Silver Class, and then Tierney is in 15th. That's P4 for Silver. P5 for Silver was Otto. 6th O'Leary, 7th Fitz, 8th was Maurer. So there you have it. That was a really exciting finish to the race, actually. And we're learning how to actually operate the the comms a little bit better. I mean, I think like you need a degree to operate this, to be fair. But yeah, another win for Davey. He is extending his lead on the championship even more. Great result in the end for Morrow. Even though he was in the wars a little bit, I'm going to go and read ACC chat now to see if there's any exchange of words between them two, because that was a little bit too much contact for the front, but well, it was some good entertainment, let's be honest. And yeah, good result for Hound as well, getting that podium, just quietly improving all race long until he ended up on the podium. Replay mode is available, yep. So that's what everyone will be looking at to get their instance on the go. But they have to wait 24 hours before they could report. That is the rule in ACC. If you report before 24 hours, it's like a cooling off period, which results in not a lot of reports, actually. Turns out. But yeah, anyway, less than 0.2 of a second separate the top two. Great racing all around. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm gonna go and give my voice a rest because it's about to die. But yeah, it was a good one. And you won't see me next week. I am away. You'll see me the week after for the season finale, an extended Nordschleifer event. So yeah,